Some big changes to talk about in the Takumi Sen series. Hey everyone, Matt here from Doctors of Running, and today I am very excited to do an initial review of the Adidas Takumi Sen 8. This series is still one of my all-time favorites for racing flats. To this day, I still have a pair of the original Takumi Sen 1s, which were a huge favorite of mine. I actually found this pair on eBay years ago. Somebody was selling them and thought they were just a women's shoe that was large and was selling them for $25. So I got these brand new $25. But I've run in versions 1 through 5 and then dabbled a little bit in 6 and 7, but didn't really try them just because they're great shoes. I wasn't really impressed because I'd really liked the way the original, design was with the extended forefoot torsion system and just this snappy midsole, and kind of got lost a little bit with some of the newer ones. So when I saw this, I was super excited. I saw that Adidas 10K, 5K attempt to get after records. I was super pumped because I love the Adios Pro 2. This has been one of my, the shoe I grab almost every time for races this year has been this one. I think, unless it's trail, which then I choose another one, which we'll talk about later. But it is definitely a long distance shoe. It's a half marathon shoe. There's a ton of cushioning here. Yeah, it can still move really fast. I've run, I think, all the 5K. No, that's not true. The last 2 5Ks that I've done have been in this shoe, and I've done well. I've maxed out where my fitness is at the moment. So I love it. I love the fit. I love the Light Strike Pro. But for something going really all out, that's where this comes in. So I'm very excited. I just did a first workout in this shoe, which I probably should not have done since I just raced a 5K and did a workout yesterday. But, I will do this for all of you. I got to get some information out there. So let's start with some of the specs on this shoe. First things first, it is unisex sizing. So it's size 9 men's, comes in at 6.8 ounces, which is very nice. Feels great. There is 33 millimeters of stack height in the heel, 27 in the forefoot. There is a non-removable insole in here, so those people that generally put orthotics in there, just know you won't be able to do that. But I will have a YouTube video coming up very shortly about how to add arch support if you cannot add an insole or if you don't want to. Some really, really, really cheap ways and effective ways to add stability and arch support to an already existing shoe without modifying too much. But that's a different story. So non-removable insole, cellar mesh upper still, but weirdly enough, let's jump into fit. So it's really nice, breathable cellar mesh upper. It kind of looks like the cellar mesh is just right here, and then it shifts into a much lighter mesh where it's just the knit, whatever you call this, and it's not the full length cellar mesh upper that you can see here, but it's still really nice. It fits really, really nicely. I have not tried this without socks, and I probably wouldn't suggest doing that. Socks were just fine. But the biggest surprise, the fit is on the wide side. I was not expecting that. There's a ton of room in the forefoot here. I can put my foot in there, and I don't have a narrow foot at all. I have a fairly normal to slightly sensitive foot, so I typically like a little wider fit. There was plenty of room here. I could splay my toes. The fit is true to size. It fits similar to the Adios Pro 2, where you almost could go a half size down. I would not, simply because the toe box does taper really quickly. But because of how wide this is, I didn't notice that. So I would stay true to size. I'm size 10 normally. Went with size 10 on these. They fit perfect. It wasn't a super snug racing fit, and the fit is slightly wider throughout. So wide toe box, I could spread my toes out quite a bit, which is really surprising for a shorter distance racing flat, which is supposed to be like 5K, 10K. The heel was a little bit wider, and the midfoot was a little bit wider. I was able to lock the laces down really well and get a much more secure fit, which felt better because I did a strider workout today. Just a couple of them, just to turn my legs over and get a feel of what this feels like at a faster pace. but it's a wider fit. So just know the laces do respond well. The upper does lock down through the midfoot. So you need to do that. But those people that have really narrow feet, you may have to try this on before you buy it because it fits a little bit on the wider side, even though you can lock the midfoot down. Now, for me, it feels great. There's plenty of room in the forefoot. I like having my foot snug, but not so much where my feet are getting cramped. And I love having a nice open toe box. So it feels good. Just know if you're between sizes, I'd be careful going down sizes just because this does taper so much. Other than that, feels really, really nice, super thin, super light. There is no heel counter at all. So another reason why I wanted to make sure I locked down the midfoot. But today I had no heel slippage at all, even before I locked this down. So feels nice. Anybody that has sensitive heels, this is another shoe that's going to work really well for you. I had no problems. It was really nice. So I like this. It's good. It's doing great. For me, works really well. Just know for you, if you have a narrow foot or if you want a really thick heel counter, this might not work. For those people who want a little bit more room, it's adjustable and definitely want a little wider toe box and no heel counter, this is going to be great. So let's talk about performance and ride. Obviously, take a second to break this in. The first half mile is like, okay, what is this? I was really expecting the super soft light strike. And yeah, there's a little bit less light strike foam. But once it broke in, I was like, I'm getting not quite, but maybe 85% of that same feeling as the Adios Pro 2 in here. Probably close to like 75-80%. So not as not as unstable with walking. Walking felt really good. I actually walked like a mile or two last night as a break from starting indies, and they felt so good. These showed up right after I ran my 5K. I got home, and then I'm like, oh, now they're here. So performance-wise, this is definitely a shorter distance racing flat, but has the versatility if you do to go up much higher. So there's a lot of things that are similar but different. There are still the rods here. They are thinner. They are not as aggressive. They're still present, and you can still notice them. But there's a lot more flexibility in this shoe. I cannot do that with the Adios Pro 2. I can't do this with any of the Adios stuff. The Adios I could do that with. That's a different one. But the Adios Pro I couldn't. This one, the rods are a little more flexible. So you have some snap, but it's still some flexibility going off toe off, which is super smooth. I did not notice any of the cutouts at all, which is interesting, except when I was warming up, I did kind of feel like I was going off the edge here. But as soon as I got warmed up, I didn't notice that. The heel bevel is still there. It is not nearly as extreme as this. And I have said this before, this works really well for my mechanics. Not while walking, but while running, it works very well since I tend to collapse in quite a bit. This one, it's there. So if you land like I do really hard in the heel, it's like, okay, that's nice. It's not as extreme, but it's much more a centered ride as opposed to the Adios Pro 2. So your foot kind of isn't pushed too much in one way. It's got a really super smooth heel strike because, again, the foam is really soft and this bevel works really, really well. The foam eases in and it's just so nice. It's like, I was thinking about this on the run. It's kind of like having a trainer, but that's super light and super fast because there's still 33 millimeters of stack height. So that's, for most of us that were running did high school years ago and college, we're still used to, these, right? Bare bones, barely any stack height, super firm. There's plenty of cushioning still here. It's just a little bit less than some of the marathon, those super shoes. And you can get your legs turning over a lot better. You squish into the sole less, but it's still soft. It's still nice and protective, but you pop off a lot quicker. So it's really nice. So still, even with the Light Strike Pro, the less of it, it's still nice and protective. Like this is the kind of shoe, because I've done marathons in shoes more similar to this or a little bit less. This is kind of the shoe I would kind of prefer for longer distance races, or at least I used to before I found the Adios Pro 2 and some of the other shoes. But those people that can handle less shoe, this is going to be a great shoe that, I can warm up and cool down in this. So it's very versatile as a racing flat for most people. For certain people, I'm sorry. For most people, they're still going to find this as a 5K, 10K racer because of what like typical stack height is. but there's plenty of cushioning. It's really nice. The ride is super smooth, right? As soon as it breaks in, you got this nice transition and toe off that feels really good. As the pace picks up, I do notice the rod's a little bit more and the light strike compresses and rebounds a little bit more. The nice part about having a little less light strike is there's less of it to compress. So you still get that nice feeling, but it compresses and comes off a lot quicker. So, even though I'm exhausted, I did a slow 13 miler this morning as a recovery run. I did 15 total yesterday with 2 different runs. One of them was a race and a fartlek right afterwards. Another one was watching my wife run the Mount Sac Sound Running Championships. It still felt really nice to turn my legs over in these. It felt comfortable when I was jogging to warm up, but as soon as I picked up the pace, it was like, oh, this is nice. This is a 5K, 10K racer. This is, for me, I'd probably take it maybe up to a half marathon, but definitely 5K, 10K. This is good. It's 6.8 ounces. It's super light. It moves really quick and the transition's really good. I do have to say, I'm expecting a lot more durability out of this. And Adidas, Nick, if you can hear this Continental rubber is what I'm looking for, right? I have destroyed the outsole on these, right? I'm on my second pair now. Please bring back this Continental outsole so you can see it's much thicker. You've got some of the other stuff here. Traction is really good. I did make an effort to run through wet road that there's a constantly leaking pipe not too far away from where I live. I ran through it. Traction is still really good on these, but this is what I'm looking for. That's that high durability outsole, that Continental rubber that I need if I want shoes to last. So I'd love to see a little bit more of that. The rest of the outsole, again, looks like it'll be fairly similar for me. But yeah, it's just nice. And they're getting away with the rods here. Again, they're smaller. There's still more flexibility here, but it still works well. And I don't notice the cutout, which is great. I thought I would, but I don't. So speaking of that, let's talk about stability. This is more in line with your traditional racing shoes. So it's not a stability shoe, okay? There are methods that make it a little bit more inherently stable, like the forefoot being wider, right? The rods adding some stiffness there, still having some good flexibility, a very gentle heel bevel, but it's not biased, right? So like the Adios Pro 2, there's, a lot of measures that almost make it a stability, like a shoe that resists inward collapse while you're running, not walking or jogging. Don't jog in these, that's not what they're meant for. Don't run easy in these, that's not what they're meant for. But there's a lot of things, whether it's that heel bevel, the rear foot plate, all this stuff that adds a ton of stability for someone like me that pronates really heavily. This works really well. Anybody that's sensitive to that are going to have a really hard time because you're going to get shoved laterally quite a bit. This is not going to happen with this shoe. Okay, so this isn't meant to do marathons in, right? So I would choose the Adios Pro 2 for a marathon, but it's much more centered, right? So there's not all those extra methods. Yes, this is stable up in the forefoot, but it's more like guided with the rods because it just adds inherent stiffness, but there's really no extra stability methods here. So it'll work a lot better for more people that kind of just want to just stay in the middle. There's no arch support. I did notice this collapse a little bit. Not this cutout, but this kind of cut in right here. But then as I started warming up, picking the speed, it was fine. So not a stability shoe, okay? Not by any means, not unstable, but not a stability shoe. So, and much more centered. So people that kind of complained about that with the Adios Pro 2, this has been solved. That's the other thing. I almost forgot to mention that there is a 6 millimeter drop here, right? And I think you probably picked that up. I almost didn't notice that. People that are sensitive to that, just be aware if you're a heel striker, it's going to compress the foam. I didn't notice it. The ride is pretty smooth. And I think the forefoot flexibility does help with that. But again, this is a great shoe. My thoughts, I'll get more and we'll get a full written review for a thoughts as a DPT. But I'm really happy with where they took this shoe. I think it's in line with balancing what you would expect in today's realm, especially in the United States. And we have this conversation all the time with different footwear companies going, hey, what's it like to market different shoes? The industry worldwide is shifting toward more cushioning. Okay, so it makes sense that even 5K, 10K racers, which are starting to come out, because those have really been neglected. We haven't seen anything that's specific to 5K, 10K. Now we have a couple of shoes out. So we had the Metaspeed Edge come out, which I argue is a 5K, 10K shoe, not a marathon shoe. The Takumi Sen 8 is very much a 5K, 10K shoe, although some people will be able to take it longer. And then we have the Nike Streak Fly that's going to come out sometime next year. So these are nice because they're a little lower to the ground. They don't wobble as much, and they're just lighter. They can turn over much easier. These are awesome, and for somebody who's got a super slow cadence like me, they're great. But somebody looking to run super, super fast over like 1 mile or 5K or 10K, this is probably gonna work a lot better unless you want extra cushioning. And even if you want extra cushioning, there's 33 millimeters of stack height here. That's a ton. 27 up here. That's a ton. So it's a really nice balance of going, hey, let's take some of those bare bones super fast racers from the past, still a little bit of cushioning, not so much as these super marathon racers, and let's find somewhere in the middle. And I think that's where these are coming from. So yes, they are supposed to be 5K, 10K racers. I think a lot of people that are used to less shoe are going to be able to handle more in them. But I just like that we're seeing some options now. And that's the biggest thing I'm going to say, is that these provide options. It's not the way the market is trend. It's not like the whole market's going to switch back to minimalist stuff. No, it's that we now have more options. If you want a more traditional stack height, which 33 is still a lot, but you don't want the tall stack height and the super soft foam from some of those other shoes, this stuff is going to do well, but it's still got some of those same components. It's still a lot of stack height for a 5K, 10K shoe. It's still, the Light Strike Pro still has a ton of protection, but it doesn't have that same super sinking feeling. You can turn your legs over faster, and it's just a nice balance. So I really appreciate that, again, that we have more options, that we're going to see these kind of newer set of shoes. It's not like the marathon shoes are going to disappear. They'll be here, but it's just nice to have options again for people that want just a little bit less. And I'm excited to race in these. This is my next 5K, whenever that is. I don't know, because I'm working quite a bit right now. I'm in the hospital doing outpatient and inpatient. So oftentimes on inpatient on the weekend. So I don't know. I get called in the weekend because I'm per diem. But if I have a chance, I'm going to get a race in these. And I am super excited to have these because, yeah, this was a purchase, by the way, with my own money. This was not sent to us by Running Warehouse or Adidas. This was a personal purchase because I was like, I want these. And I am super happy I bought them. There are sales on right now. I didn't see them available again until the 15th of December. So this will, by the time most of you see this, it'll be long gone. And this will hopefully be more available. I chose the black because that was available. I love Adidas's colorways right now. I really wish I'd gotten the legacy one, but it just wasn't there. And I chose this. So my overall opinion of this shoe so far is I love it. This is still an initial review. I'm going to get a ton of miles on this shoe and have a full written review coming up very shortly, actually. I really like it. It's a nice balance. I think a lot of people in high school and college are going to love these for a variety of race distances. I think people that want to run faster over the 5K, 10K are going to really love these. And I think people that want to run marathons and want a little bit less shoe are going to also really like these. A nice balance between the older super minimal shoes and these new super marathon racers. The fit is on the wider side. So people that want a wide toe box, you're going to love this. You can still lock it down. People with narrow feet, be aware, just approach with caution. But you'll probably be fine. Super breathable, really high quality upper from Adidas. This adapts really well. The Light Strike foam is great. I love Light Strike. It's one of my favorite foams out there, and it feels really nice, and it's much more controlled and not as like, oh my gosh, all over the place like the Adios Pro, which again goes away when you start running fast, but much more balanced here. And balance is the other word I'm going to use for those people that felt like the Adios Pro 2 or some of the other Adidas racers put you too much out one way. Very centered, none of that stuff, or at least a little bit, but not anything that you're going to feel. So definitely a shoe, if you're interested in getting back to running faster stuff, a shoe I would really consider that you try. Other shoes in this category, as I mentioned, that are coming out. Asics Metaspeed Sky, again, same concept, same foams as previous as Asics Metaspeed Edge. I'm sorry, same super foam, but less. So again, a little bit more snappy, responds a little bit quicker. And then we've got the Nike Streak Fly that's coming out. I don't have that shoe. I'm curious to see it, but it's, again, a more moderate stack height 5K, 10K racers are coming. And so it's just a great shoe. I'm super excited. This finally continues the legacy of what I wanted. No, it is not the same as this. It's not. But the spirit is there of a shoe, and I actually trained in these. back in the day. The Takumi Sen was the racer. The Takumi Ren was the trainer, and I ran through so many pairs of Takumi Rens. I was running 120-mile week in this and that shoe. Like, there's no cushioning here. I don't know how my body did it. On concrete in Pomona. There's not a ton of trails there. So, but the essence is still there, where surprisingly it's still protective. Well, not surprisingly given the foam. The fit is a little bit more on like that kind of like what I would consider like the Japanese style, where it's a little bit more room in the forefoot, which I haven't seen for a little bit. The uppers, this shoe is just high quality. I really like it. So the spirit is back. I did try some of the other ones. The reason I stopped reviewing them because it just didn't feel the same. So I think Adidas, you hit this one out of the park. I really like this shoe. I'll get some more miles and have a full review coming out on Doctors of Running written, and I'll follow up here. But yeah, if you can get your hands on these and you want a faster 5K, 10K shoe and you want a slightly wider fit, this is going to be it. And so I like it. I'm definitely going to be racing in these, and we'll have, again, more thoughts coming. Hopefully David should get a pair when he recovers from CIM, which he just ran today. Shout out to him and Megan, one of their other testers, who both had a great race. You guys fought really tough, and congrats to everybody else that ran CIM. It's a tough course. That's a tough course. You got to be able to handle those downhills. So congrats to everybody. Whether or not you achieved your goals, you finished. Good job. Enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. Stick around for more. We're going to have some fun stuff coming up, a lot of end-of-year reviews, and some really cool stuff coming up in 2022. So stick around. Check out all our social media stuff. Bach, as always, is doing an amazing job of promoting everything, putting stuff together. We've got some new guides coming out. Pay attention to. Our stability guide has blown up. We appreciate all the feedback people have given. Hope it's a good resource. Shout out to Bach on the mastermind behind that. But check us out. We got all kinds of stuff, and we got more stuff coming.